I'd like to welcome onto the show Anthony Ligregni, and we're going to hear a little tidbit from he and his sister's cover song. And let's give that a listen right now before we welcome him on.
Well, baby, I'm dancing in the dark with you between my arms, barefoot on the grass, while listening to our favorite song. I have faith in what I see. Now I know I am in an angel in person, and he looks perfect.
Wow. Well, we're now welcoming to the show the supremely talented Anthony Ligregni, New York's finest, as I like to put it. How you been, man? How have you been these past few months? I haven't seen you in a bit.
I know, yeah, it's been a while. No, I'm doing well, man. Just trying not to go too crazy in lockdown right now, but yeah, I'm doing well.
Good, man. Right on. So I think just so that we can get everyone acquainted, with the audience and then, the other co-hosts who haven't had the great pleasure of meeting you yet, you just moved from New York to LA. And so just kind of walk us through, what kind of went behind that decision and how that's been going so far.
Yeah, I mean, to make a long story short, yeah. So I'm from the East Coast. I came out here back in July, I want to say. Mid-July I moved out here. And I didn't move out here specifically for music. I moved out here just for writing in general, whether it was screenwriting or music, whichever one kind of I felt more comfortable with. And I think after after a week, I was just like, you know what, music is kind of where I want to be. And so I've been out here ever since, and it's been a grind. I'm not gonna lie, just because being new to a big city, it definitely has its difficulties and it's hardships, but ultimately it's been a blessing. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you most definitely made the right decision when it came to the music, because again, I fully believe in you, and you are quite talented, I must say, as much as it pains me to. That's something that I will never understand. Is this city boy from New York somehow gets wrapped up into the country scene. Now, I've talked to you about this ad nauseum before. I hate country. I respect it because it's an art form and I get all that, but it's just not for me. So with that being said, how did you get so in tune with that? Because you really have built up quite a little sound for yourself.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting story, I guess. I never really, I was a late bloomer to country music. I never really liked country music, didn't really listen to it until later on in life. My dad was a big fan of Zac Brown Band, and saw him a couple times in concert and whatnot, or them a couple times in concert, and it was great. And but that was really the only exposure I had. Actually, funny enough, my ex-girlfriend, when I was like about 20, my ex-girlfriend, her whole family and they loved country music, and I couldn't take it. I hated it. I don't know why. And then I just didn't. And then I think one thing led to another, and because I listened to primarily pop music then, and I think one thing led to another, and it was a transitioning period for country music, and country was starting to get more mainstream, more pop. And I think I maybe heard a song, and one thing led to another, and I was like, oh, okay. And I knew I could sing, but I didn't really find my own voice and kind of like where I wanted to go. And then I started to sing country, just in the car or whatever. And I started to realize, hey, I actually really like, the contemporary form of it. And one thing led to another, and I've just been hooked ever since. Once I started listening to that, I started to really get into like the old school country, and the real, when you strip everything down. So now I have a nice, I guess, ear, I guess, for country, as you can say. But yeah, it was kind of a weird journey. A lot of people start from when they're kids, it's kind of embedded in them listening to country music. Not for me. I can't right. I can't lie to you. Yeah, it was weird. But music, I will say this though, music has been in my life since I was a kid. Music's always been a part of my life, whether, my grandfather was a dancer, my sister's probably the greatest voice I've ever heard, and that's not an exaggeration. But yeah, most kids, that was one thing that my parents definitely wanted growing up. It was, because I was an athlete my whole life. But growing up, it was my dad said, okay, he's going to play football. And my mom said, okay, well, then he's going to go to dance class. My dad said, all right, well, he's going to play baseball. And mom said, all right, then he's going to do something else artistic. So they really did want both my sister and I to stay, to be as well-rounded as we could. So when most kids had an alarm clock to wake up for school or whatever, my mom would blast any type of music she could find. And once we heard the music, that was our cue to get up, or else we'd be in trouble. So we didn't really, music was always around. So it was definitely an interesting, I guess, dynamic. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So do you find that, you just mentioned your sister, who's also brilliant. Do you find that it's easier, or I guess more effective for you to work with her, or do you kind of like doing your own thing and produce the music as kind of a solo act?
So yeah, I mean that's a good question, and I think, if I'm being honest with you, I think we're siblings, so it does depend on the day. You know what I mean? For sure.
Oh yeah,
but,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, but I mean, all jokes aside, honestly, I think at first I was very intimidated by her because of how talented she is. And that definitely got in the way of things. But once I kind of threw that aside, we work very well together. Most of the songs that I've written, I would say 90%, if 80 to 90%, have been written with her, have been co-written,
including that one we just heard.
Well, that was a cover, but yes, that we worked on the vocal arrangement together. Yes, but the thing about my sister is she's very good at vocal arrangements. So she is incredible at kind of coming up with melodies for tracks and stuff like that. And then I'll come in and we'll work on the lyrics together. And it's a good duo. I mean, I'm the type of person where I do like writing with other people, but I have to have a solid foundation before I even step foot into the room. 'Cause I work better when I talk through things. That's always been me, whether it was school, whether it was music, whether it was anything. I work better when I'm able to just kind of let things go and just talk through it. So yeah, we have a good dynamic now. We've kind of settled in a good place, but I love working with her, and I don't want to stop anytime soon, or ever for that matter. So yeah.
Anthony, I have a question for you. What do you think has been the biggest musical lifestyle change transitioning from New York to LA? Either it's day to day, or the people that you work with are different, or the type of music that's more prevalent here. Just curious.
That's a really good question, because I was actually just thinking about this the other day. I think out here it's a different dynamic out here as far as people. One isn't right, one isn't wrong, one isn't better than the other. It's just very different. Out here, people are laid back, a lot more laid back from where I'm from. And that's, that's not a bad thing. That's just the way it is. And I think for me, being in country music and it not being predominantly, a focus out here, it's not a focus. It's just not what it is. I can either look at it both ways. I can look at it as being a big fish in a small pond, even though it is LA, there's not many people in country music. Or I can look at it in a sense where it's there's a reason why nobody's in country music out here. So, so I choose to look at it as the big fish in the small pond. But yeah, it's definitely difficult, I think, working with some people, just because I'm the type of person where if I have something, I want to get it done right now. I don't want to, because as soon as I take a break, it's gonna mess up the flow of everything. So if I have something, I want to work on it right now. And you just got to watch, because some people aren't on that same timeline as you. So yeah, that's one thing that I've learned from being out here, definitely.
So aside from that song we just heard, which is fantastic, you're still kind of working on making a name for yourself and getting out some tunes here in the not so distant future. So we're really looking forward to that. I also know something about you, that another thing that we have in common, aside from the music stuff, is we're both big football fans, but specifically Patriots fans. So I have to ask you a couple questions about this, because I haven't spoken to you since my birthday, and even then we didn't bring up how Tom is now going to be in a different uniform for the first time in his NFL career. So I got to ask you about that, and then I want to ask you some questions about the upcoming NFL draft. But I'll start with Brady. How, as a lifelong Patriots fan, how have you? And you know what? I also want to clue people in on something. Yeah, I said Patriots fan, and this motherfucker's from New York. So I don't understand how that happened. Maybe you want to shed some light on that too. But somehow you made it work, and I'm happy that you did, because you definitely chose the right side of the force there. But yeah, I mean, how did you take Tommy Boy heading down south?
Yeah. So I guess to start off, yeah, I became a Patriots fan just because in football I played. I think I was a big fan of Wes Welker growing up, and I think that kind of started me loving the Patriots. And then from there, obviously I was a big Tom fan, and to see him go, it's bittersweet, man. It's difficult to say because I see it both sides. I understand that, yes, he's been the greatest of all time, and he's played for our team, thank God, and it was an absolute blessing. But with that being said, I think it was the right move for everybody. I think after last season, the Patriots, they kind of saw that they weren't the same. They didn't have Gronk. They didn't have some people on defense, and I think that it was time. I think we're about to go into a transitioning period. So it's going to be difficult to see Tom playing for a different team, but ultimately, I think it was time. I think it was the right move.
What an exciting division that is now, by the way. You've got Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, and Tom Brady all in the same division, not just conference, division. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch. It's just, I think you're right. I think it's just bittersweet, especially if you are part of the Boston sports, fandom.
Yeah, it's definitely bittersweet, I think. And that's no disrespect to anybody. I mean, he's the greatest of all time. He's been an absolute privilege to watch. But, it's just one of those things where it's like you just kind of got to go separate ways sometimes. Going forward, I'm a little nervous going forward. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
But
Jared Stidham time?
It's kind of rocky territory because you really don't know what's going to happen. But yeah,
right.
I'm going to try to stay as positive as possible, I think.
Yeah, I think Garland just said, is it Stidham time?
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know. I don't think so. I hope not.
Apparently that's what they want, but who knows what's going to happen with them, honestly.
And Anthony, you can't let Feller give you shit for being from New York and rooting for the Patriots, because I think Feller has 7 favorite baseball teams. I think he likes the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Dodgers, whoever's on top. So you can't really take that too wholeheartedly.
No, but
don't believe him, Anthony. Don't believe him, Anthony. Don't believe him, Anthony.
Growing up, it was definitely. I heard all the shit growing up as far as being a Patriots fan, coming from where I come from. So, I'm used to it. But no, it's all good.
Well, Anthony, I want to thank you again for joining us, man. It's always a pleasure. Good catching up with you. And again, I hope that everyone is staying safe back east, and you and Ryan are doing the same, brother.